Here we go. We are Zaleski Sports live on location here in Edgar, sponsored by Security Health Plan. My name is Jason Zaleski, and right off the bat, we get Edgar football coach Jerry Sinz. Coach, let's just dig right into practice. We are day 3 of week 2. Pads are popping behind us. Just tell us about getting to be with the guys again and into second week of practice here in 2022.
Yeah, it's always fun to get started, and of course things have been pretty much perfect for us weather-wise this year. First of all, we got all the rain to soften up the field, and then it's cool every morning and kind of warms up a little bit by noon, but even by noon it's usually only in the 70s. So yeah, we couldn't ask for anything nicer or better, and I think the kids have been working hard. Yeah, the attitude's been good.
You and I talked a little bit out on the practice field a little earlier. You've got Scrimmage coming up in 2 days, so I think it bears to ask the question: what are you working on today? What work gets put into going to a scrimmage? It's different than a game. So how do you prepare for that?
Well, basically, yeah, we just run some play scripts because we script plays all year. So we have some ready for the scrimmage too. We try to determine in our early practices what plays our current players can execute the best. And then we get ready to use some of those to see how they work against opposing defenses. We'll run a different set against Regis than we do against Menominee, than we do against Medford, so at least we can get about 45 different plays in. We probably won't repeat any play. We're in a game, a guy does.
Yeah.
But at least we see how 45 of them work against live action.
Yeah, and that's just it, right? So you and the coaches are evaluating on Friday players, packages, formations, and then maybe give the kids a little bit of film to look at. But that's what you're trying to accomplish on Friday. Right.
Yeah. Get some work in to see who looks the best. Keep everybody healthy. And everybody that comes to the scrimmage is the same way. There's pretty much no hitting any quarterbacks unless the guy is running a read option and he keeps the ball. Well, okay, now he's a running back, but otherwise, no, nobody hits any quarterbacks, and so it's more controlled, and there is no kicking either.
Last time that I asked you this question, I think we had to bring an abacus out to figure it out. But remind the audience how many years you've been coaching football, and then what has kept you coming back all these years?
Well, it's my 51st year total, my 48th year as head coach, and basically just because I want to have something to do in the morning, something to get up, get out of bed, get moving, and so it keeps me going. And like I say, I mean, I always have more fun hanging out with guys that are 18, 19, 20, and of course a lot of my coaches are 35 or 40 that with guys maybe my own age, I guess.
Again, we're at Zaleski Sports on location today, sponsored by Security Health Plan at Edgar football practice. Coach Sinz so graciously let us in here today, and we're having a pretty good time so far. The sun's starting to come down, so guys will get off the field here in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, get some water, get some rest. Talk about football tradition at Edgar. I mean, one of the premier football programs. You talked about your longevity here. That certainly has something to do with it. But, known statewide, maybe even beyond the state borders of Wisconsin. So just tell us a little bit about the tradition of football at Edgar High School.
Well, yeah, we've, I guess one of the things that, I'm kind of, maybe most proud of is I believe we've had 18 undefeated regular seasons, which, it's really hard to have an undefeated regular season, particularly when you're playing teams like we do. We always play non-conference opponents that are bigger than us. This year we start out with Lakeland, Minocqua, and then we have Stratford second game. So yeah, we always try to find teams like that, teams that we know are a lot bigger than us, teams that we expect to be good. So to be able to go undefeated during a schedule like that is really yeah, it's a tough thing to do. I believe we've been to state about 13, 14 times, and of course, conference championships, yeah, we've of course achieved quite a few of those over the years too. But yeah, I think we have 46 or 7 consecutive winning seasons, going now. So that's a pretty good streak.
Congratulations! I think is all that can be said about that. Congratulations. You're known to be around town. People see you out to dinner at the Steam Show. Has the Steam Show happened yet this year?
No, it's
okay, that's coming, right?
Up.
You've been known to park cars at the Steam Show, as a matter of fact. Volleyball games, basketball games, what have you. Is there anywhere around you can go where people don't recognize you?
Well, I say that's why I wear this hat like this, and sunglasses. But obviously, when you've been around, as long as I have, you become halfway well known,
Halfway, if not the whole way. All right, let's talk about conference play here a little bit. I'm not asking for any predictions, but as your conference has been the last number of years, changing all the time. Colby came on, 2 years ago? Colby joined your Merriwood Conference. Now Pittsville was out. Now they're back in. Maybe just give us kind of the state of the conference right now as it pertains to the football program.
Yeah, we wish it would, of course, be able to settle down like it was for 40 years, because then you kind of know who you're playing when you're playing. The schedule from year to year. Now the last 2-3 years, well, particularly since the pandemic, everything's been goofed up. But yeah, the conference realignment stuff, 8 more teams playing 8-man and things like that. We've lost some teams out of our conference. I'm happy with the way it is this year because we're doing 2 crossover games with the Central Wisconsin. So we'll play our 2 non-conference games. Then we have our 2 crossover games, which count as conference games. And then we'll have our 5 regular Merriwood games. And, of course, I mean, it's kind of funny. There hasn't been all that long ago we had so many teams in the Merriwood that you didn't play some of the teams.
Yeah,
you had buys against certain teams. Well, now we only really have 6 real, Merriwood teams that are playing 11-man Merriwood football, and the other 2 are teams from the CWC.
Last year's schedule, you started with Lakeland and Stratford. This year you start with Lakeland and Stratford. You got Lakeland, a little bit bigger school, poses some different challenges, and then of course you got Stratford. And for whatever reason, Coach, it seems like the last handful of years too, in that game it's been the visiting team that's won, and there's been some close ones there. But tell us about what impact or how those first couple games can help set the tone for an entire season.
Yeah, we certainly are fine with having maybe 2 of our tougher opponents right away. Once again, the scrimmage, same kind of a thing. Then if you have some teams in the middle of your schedule that maybe aren't quite as strong, but that's all right. Because once again you might have some guys nicked up, banged up, and then of course you want to be strong again at the end of the year. So I think it makes your kids focus in preseason practice more, knowing that, guys, hey, the teams we're scrimmaging, yeah, they're bigger than us and they're good. And the teams we're playing in the first games, yeah, they're bigger than us and they're good. So it kind of gets a little more urgency in the guys getting ready right away.
Last year, the schedule was also highlighted by a couple of long road trips up to Hurley. What did you and the guys learn playing that kind of team? And they had a really, really good team last year. And, of course, you were right with them both games. Maybe the guys coming back this year. But, that was maybe aside from Stratford, the best team on your schedule. And you happen to play them twice. So are you able to carry that learning over to this year?
Well, yeah, I hope so. I mean, we got some guys back, obviously, who played in those games. We did have a decent number of seniors last year that graduated. We were awful thin last year. I mean, slight guys, small guys. So that wasn't a good matchup for us, physically playing teams like Hurley that had, 2 running backs that were 235 or bigger, and we got guys tackling them that are 135 or 40. But we survived, and which was I was happy about that. And yeah, especially the first game, overtime, a 2-pointer. Yeah, these are games could have gone either way. And so, yeah, they were good games. And once again, we're happy to have games like that.
I'm always at risk when I start saying names of kids because then you always leave somebody out. But you reminded me last year, and I said it to him. He didn't really laugh a whole lot, but I think he got the joke later. And I think he's graduated now, so I can say. But Ever Brame was one of those guys. I told him he had toothpicks hanging off of his hips. Pretty slight build. Tell us about the guys on this year's team. You can call out names if you want, but what should Edgar Wildcat fans and football fans all across the state of Wisconsin who are some of the names we might hear this year?
Well, we have our leading rusher and scorer and our leading probably defensive point guy back this year in Carter Butt. He's somewhat of a unusual physical guy for, schools our size. I mean, He's about 5'9", 5'9.5", and he weighs, I think, 209, 210.
His thighs are the opposite of toothpicks.
Right,
yeah.
right. He doesn't quite look like Everett, and he's pretty fast. You know, he's a track sprinter and stuff like that. So, you know, and he's a gifted receiver too. When we play 7-on-7, yeah, he can catch the ball well, even though he's got kind of like short arms because he's not a big guy. But certainly, you know, we're going to depend on him, you know, to do a lot of things. We have several of our offensive linemen back, so we think we should have good leadership there. Two of our captains are offensive linemen, and Brady Stencil and Carver Higgins. We got some other guys back that also played in the offensive line last year. Our 3 running backs, you know, Carter along with Jace Affelbeck and Colby Weisenberger, are all guys that are track sprinters, and they're all guys who played, you know, some last year. So we think, you know, that all of our 3 top running backs are going to be pretty good guys. We got Brett Baumgartner back at tight end too, good-sized guy who played quite a bit last year. We think our offensive line and defensive line should be improved, you know, this year because we got a lot of guys back. In the secondary, we graduated a lot of guys, so they're going to need some work. Our linebackers, we got quite a few guys back too. So, yeah, there'll be things that'll be interesting to see in the scrimmage, you know, how other guys have come along. We look okay, but, you know, when you don't have that experience, yeah, you want to get some experience. So if we get burned a time or two in the scrimmage, yeah, that's no concern. They're young guys, they're learning.
And it'd be good to see some different colored shirts on the other
Correct.
side, too. There's nothing wrong with that. We'll kind of wind down with this one, Coach. I always give all of our coaches in these preseason talks a chance to remind their fans, their community to come out to the games. I don't think you have that kind of a problem. It's always a jam-packed house here, so you can remind folks to come out to the games, and that would be a good idea. Always come out and support the kids, whether it's here or in the gym or whatever the case might be. But more so, tell us about that and that home field advantage when you've got, you know, the whole town here supporting these kids, and what advantage that really is for you and your guys.
See, that was another thing last year that it was just kind of a quirk in the schedule. We only had 3 home games, so we had to double up special events, nights, and so on. Now, obviously, this year it flipped. So this year we got 6 home games. So now we have a couple games we don't even have an event for because we have so many. So our first 3 games are all at home, against Lakeland, against Stratford, and against Pacelli, you know, all starting at 7. Our 4th game, we go on the road, but 5th game, we're back home against Colby. So 4 out of our first 5 are at home. So we're happy once again with the rain, with the field getting, you know, softened up and grass thick, because, yeah, we're going to have a lot of games at home this year.